What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with another banger on the second channel. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also be ready for the weed rating video on this channel. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't done so yet. I'll have that linked in the description, and get your last minute submissions in because I'm going to start reviewing and working on the first episode on the channel pretty soon. But either way, I wanted to make this video because this is something I get asked all the time. People always ask me, they're like, yo, how'd you pay for your drugs? Whether it was during my coke phase or just my weed or really anything. Because for those of you who have watched a fair amount of my videos, I figure a lot of you have if you're on the second channel, you probably know that I was not one to really maintain a job for very long. However, I've been kind of lucky in the sense where I've always been pretty creative with making money and getting by, and finding a way to get fucked up no matter what. And being a drug addict really turns you into overdrive when it comes to money. Like, looking back at it, I made good money doing little side hustles and all sorts of stupid shit when I was younger. But the problem is I never realized that I was making good money because I was dumping it all out the minute I would get it. The moment any sort of money hit my pockets, it was all going to the plug, especially when I was younger. Now that I'm older, obviously I've got YouTube and streaming and merch and, a more stable income where I can actually afford my weed. But when I was younger, it was an everyday struggle having to wake up and figure out where my next re-up was coming from. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a few of the ways that I used to make money and pay for my addiction when I was younger. Now, the first one we're going to talk about here is pretty obvious, and I've talked about this in a lot of my past videos, but stealing really was my most common go-to option. I would steal almost anything. I wasn't just limited to like going and stealing alcohol and selling it or, stealing other things like that. I would get more creative with my schemes. I would steal really anything from the grocery store. I'd hit people up and be like, yo, dude, you want a bucket of that fresh chicken from the grocery store? $5. I'll walk out with it, Whatever it took. I would go hit game stores, whether it be not GameStop. You can't steal from GameStop. Walmart, and then I'd take the games to GameStop. Best Buy, I hit on a few rare occasions, but they're pretty notoriously difficult to hit. They have real-ass security in that bitch. You have to buy something. And on the I think I literally did this like once, Target, because Target just has a reputation for that stuff. But stealing was a frequent one because normally, if I got fucked up on something, I would lose all sense of fear. And I also knew as a minor that I could get away with stealing a lot of shit and really just end up with a slap on the wrist and maybe a little bit of community service. As an adult, I can't really do that anymore. I don't think I've ever stolen since I turned 18, quite honestly, because the penalties are way different now. When I was younger, you guys might remember, for you OGs out there, I got banned from Walmart because I got caught stealing a shitload of games. When I was young, I got off on that with no jail time, just probation, even though it was a felony at the time. Now, if that happened to me now, I would 100% go to jail. So that died off pretty quickly, right? Once I turned like 17, even then I was slowing down on it because 17 is when they start charging you as an adult for that kind of shit. They kind of stop playing with you at that point. But that was one of my main ways. And now we're going to talk about some of the kind of lesser known ways. Some of the stuff that I might not have talked about as much. Now, this is one that I've talked about very rarely. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. But when I was younger, around like my junior year of high school, the main ways I would make money outside of stealing was the internet, right? I've always been on my computer all the time. I've always been a nerd with that kind of shit. And I used to go on a site called Hack Forums, which some of you guys might know what this is. I don't even know if it exists anymore. I haven't been on this since I was very young. But on this site, there was a section. It was like a big forum for all sorts of very shady, illegal shit. You could do anything from like paying to get someone doxxed to something as simple as like buying a hacked account. All sorts of like seedy and shady shit that you shouldn't be doing was on this site. Now, there was a couple different things that I would do to make some money with this. This site was a gold mine for this kind of stuff. So first off, you could go on the deep web and you could buy, like in bulk, porn accounts. This might sound interesting, but just hear me out. This might sound a little crazy. You could spend like $1 and go on the deep web and buy like a list of like 10 fucking, Brazzers accounts, for example, right? Then I would go on this forum and I'd sell them for $1 a pop, right? Still cheap, but remember that I paid $1 for a list of 10 of them, so I'm making a 10x return here. Now, it's not like I ever made any crazy money doing this, but it was a piece of the money I would make off this site. I would always try to come up with something new on this website to make money. There was one time where me and my friend, we downloaded GTA 5 mod menus and we started doing money drops for people. We had all sorts of package deals and stuff. I don't even know if we ever got a sale doing that. I used to write these like bullshit ass ebooks and guides where I would literally just copy paste shit from the internet, put it on a Google Doc and just slap it up there and be like, yo, all you got to do is make a purchase, Bitcoin, ETH, whatever you want to send, PayPal, you get a link, dude. Bow, private shared link. Stupid shit like that. I was never actually hacking stuff or doing any super crazy, like, big money shit on there. I was one of the little fish on that site. I was just there to scrape together some change, try to make $20 to go grab some weed, That was my only objective. But that site was nice because unlike, stealing and a lot of the other things I would do, I could do that whenever I wanted. It could be like 3 a.m. and I could do it. So it was a very nice little side hustle for me. I also used to level RuneScape accounts in my free time and sell those on there. I actually sold a couple of those. I used to make strength pures and go to the, if you guys play old school RuneScape, you might know what I'm talking about. If not, you're going to have no damn idea. But I used to go to a blast furnace and do the pump for like 2 strength XP a tick, all the way up to like 70 or 80 strength, and then sell the account and repeat, right? Very time consuming, but also didn't have to pay much attention to it. So I could do like 3 accounts at once. But I'd make a little bit of money doing that kind of stuff. Now, moving on from the topic of that website and the little stuff on there, we'll get into some of the more stupid or questionable things that I did. Now, one thing that I did is back in the day, this doesn't work anymore. This was like way back. I'm talking like sophomore year of high school. PayPal used to not verify any information whatsoever. Like, you did not have to enter a social. You could literally make your name Jeff Dickberg on like 123 Bofa Street, and you could just send thousands of dollars between accounts. Now, the reason that this is so important is because chargebacks, the way they track them, like if, let's say, for example, so here's how I would do it. I would take my main account and I would send money to a second account, Jeff Dinkelberg. Jeff Dinkelberg would hop on that account and send it to a third account, which would usually be either A, another burner I made, or B, like a friend's account. Then that third account would send my money back to the first account, right? So now I'd have that initial money I sent in my balance. You guys are probably thinking like, oh, okay, well, you just got the money back. Where's the come up here? On my first account, once my money would come back to my balance, I would go into my transactions and charge back the money I sent to the second account. I would then log on to the second account with like a VPN or some shit like that and approve the chargeback, because back in the day, you didn't have to have a card connected or even a balance to approve a chargeback. They would just let you go negative. Now, in order to accept a refund, you have to have a way to source it, right? Like, you have to have some way, like if you go into the resolution center and you just approve the refund and don't let PayPal deal with it, you need to have some way to pay them back. But back in the day, you didn't. So I would charge back from my first account. Now on my second account, Jeff Dickberg is fucked, right? Jeff Dickberg is negative like $500. But no one knows who Jeff Dickberg is. They're not finding that fucking idiot, right? That's not going on my report. That's not my debt. Now I'm sitting here and I got my initial $500 back, but I also got an extra $500, so I doubled my money. This was something I didn't do super frequently out of fear of getting banned, which I did. I did eventually. They got my dumbass, but I got away with like probably 90% of the shit I was doing. I only had to pay back. It did get me eventually. I only had to pay back maybe like, I don't know, like $300 or $400 out of like the total amount I did with this, which this does not work anymore. Okay. So like, don't think this works, because it just doesn't. It does not work. But next up, another thing that I would do, and this one's not really as sketchy as the last one, I would do like surveys and like tests. What I mean by that is not like the online, you sit there and fill out a survey for 25 cents. I'm talking like I would go do in-person like research stuff. So, for example, I think I've talked about this a long time ago, but one of the things that I had to do was there was this marketing firm that wanted me to meet up with them and drive through 2 different McDonald's and like order whatever they told me to, right? They paid for the food. I got to keep the food. And all I had to do after driving through these 2 stores was sit down and answer like a 20 or 30 minute like survey about the experience and how I would change it and what menu items stand out and all that. I used a website, I think it was called like Respondent, to find this stuff. But if you were lucky enough to land one of those in-person things, they paid me like $200 for like an hour of driving through McDonald's, and I got hella free food. I used to do that all the time. It was probably the cleanest, like best, just easy, clean money that I would make. Like no risk, no thought, nothing stupid. Just like, yo, let's go answer some dumb questions. Now, as a minor, I was pretty limited in the options I had. I was really limited to only like fast food stuff, or sometimes they would have ones at like malls and stuff, but those were pretty rare. So it was limited. Usually I'd only be able to snag like one of these a month, if even. But it was a nice little extra source of side income. And of course, obviously, I would sell the drugs that I was consuming as well to try to maintain. But the thing is, I was always such a total fiend that I could never actually hang on to enough drugs to break even. Like if, let's say, I bought an ounce of weed and I told myself, yo, I'm going to sell a half ounce and smoke a half, so I maybe break even or even make a little profit. I would tell myself that, but I could never control myself enough to do it. How it would really play out is I'd smoke probably about 3/4 of that zip and sell the last quarter, you know, if I was lucky. Sometimes I wouldn't even sell any of the shit. I'd tell like 1/8 and then the rest of it is just down the hatch, over with. But, you know, I get this question quite a lot, and I figured I just wanted to make a quick little video sharing some of the creative ways that I used to get money when I was younger in order to pay for my habits. Now, obviously, the rate at which I was doing these little things varied depending on what drug I was doing. When I was doing shit like, you know, coke, for example, which I didn't really have a very big phase until I was a little older, so I kind of stopped doing some of this stuff. Then I really had to start hustling. And also, when I first started smoking weed when I was younger, we were all getting taxed out the ass because we were high schoolers. So once again, I had to hustle pretty hard. But when I would go through periods where, let's say I was doing like DXM, which was a brief period and a shitty one, or like Xanax, things that were a little bit cheaper, then usually I wouldn't have to do this stuff as much, and I could kind of get away with whatever measly shitty paycheck I was getting at whatever job I was only going to last 2 weeks at. Because jobs I could just never hang at. I don't know if it was the drugs, I don't know if it was the ADHD, I just got sick of them. I was like, you know what, we're done. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Hope this answers some of the questions that I've been getting a lot, and let me know in the comment section below if you relate to any of this. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, gamers.